Hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony ntalleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com and click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, cooperate, come up with some great, phenomenal ideas. I'm also published on certain sites. Actually, I shouldn't say certain sites. I'm published everywhere these days. But you can go to Bye Bye Blue Sky and Gag Canada, and you may see some information about me there as well as on the internet. Like I said, because we only got hour segments, my intros are going to be a lot shorter for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, so who have listened to me before. Anyway, tonight I want to get right into it on a lot of different topics. They're all good topics. I think I'm just going to start off with Dr. Gwen Scott. I'm going to give you a site. Give me a second. I'll put it in the chat room even. For those of you who are there, you will have access to the name of the YouTube. It's an oldie, but a goodie. Okay, Dr. Gwen Scott, Revolution Radio, July 2011, more gallons. She basically has stated what Ryan 396 and I have stated for a long time. This is not a pathology. This is not just a simple biology. She called it a pseudo life form, and I had my conversations with her as well. And it's a synthetic life form. It is nothing that's on the maps. The way it works, the way it assembles, the way it spreads. She goes into a very elaborate expose on this and states, some of you asked this question: how come some people have the symptomologies of the skin lesions and the exposure and all these things, and how come some don't? She hit on it. She talked about it. Basically said the same thing that Brian 396 and I have discovered as well. We actually validate a lot of her work. You know, I never really looked at her stuff. I saw a couple of things, but I never really researched or followed her research at all. I went on my own to discover what I had to, and I came to the same conclusions on a lot of things that she pointed out. So what I saw, what she was talking about, we validated, and in fact we took it to a whole new level, because we saw more and more of how it assembled, the process of assembling, the self-replication, the self-repair, the ability for it to expand itself, the ability for it to be able to defend itself. This is why we told everybody, do not use zappers, spookies, ripes, or anything like this. Any direct assault on this particular material, it will have a response mechanism to alter or change its morphology and become something completely different, which then leaves you in some other void, because you won't know at that point what's going on. The methods that we use primarily are to shut it off, put it to sleep, and then remove it. And again, it's not a direct attack. It's more like an enveloping wave of fields that basically turn off any access to any programming that it may be receiving to follow its mandate. When I looked at what she stated, and again, I had my conversation with her. I had 3 conversations with her before she passed. And when she passed, I was sorry to hear that she had passed, because she was very instrumental in the research we did. The fact that she had launched a springboard for others to have followed. Unfortunately, a lot of people have jaded her research. A lot of people have come up with some theories that have absolutely no bearing whatsoever on what was really going on. Nobody ever really dealt with the pseudo life form that she explained. They would decide to call it a bacterium, this, that. There's so much horse hockey on, and she came out. She was the first one that came out, and I validated it as well in my research. It is not, I repeat, it is not a pathology. Okay, it's not a disease. Okay, it's not. It's a condition that has been implemented to us, and she took it further back than I did. She took it back up into the 40s. I went back as far as the 60s, seeing how it got into the food supply, how it got into the food table, into the prescription drugs, into the vaccines. She was talking vaccines way back in the 1940s, even post Second World War. So this condition that has been invented and then released on everybody was a well-planned, well-orchestrated plan to create these anomalies. And it's not just in the United States, it's not just in Canada, it's not just in South America, it's not just in Europe, it's not just in China, it's not just in Australia, it's not in Japan, it's not just in Australia, it's the world over. This has been an incredible attack on this planet. On every culture, belief system, race, creed, philosophy, belief systems. It doesn't discriminate. And I put this on there. She used the grape juice thing, and this is where her and I had we had a discussion about this. And I told her, I said, the grape juice thing doesn't work either, because the grape juice has the nano in it. So all you're doing is activating the nano in the grape juice and you're spitting it out. And at the time, she pointed out that this was just a way, I guess, at the time, based on what she knew, this is what she gave. And I understood that. You know, there was no debate, really, no argument. But after I looked at it further, we took wine and we coiled the wine and we hit it with a pulse, and the nano let go. All let go. You can find this in grape juice as well. You can find it in black currant. You can find it in a lot of things. It's in everything we're eating. And Sheik went out, which I agree with her, stated that everybody has this. There is no doubt. There is no doubt. If we're being reloaded with this stuff daily, with what they're dropping in the atmosphere. Now, I want to point something out to you at this point right now. A lot of you are having respiratory issues. You can't figure out why you can't shake this quote-unquote cold. You can't shake this quote-unquote chest infection. You can't seem to shake off this condition that's going on, because your body is fighting the issue that you already have, and your system is now incorporating or taking in on a new wave of loading. So when you are dealing with some of your health issues, you must start considering the atmosphere is reloading your system to compromise you that much further, that much faster, and that much more potently. This is not a slow kill as people think it is. This is a rapid loading of material into human DNA in the genetic code. And what happens is, once it reaches a certain climatic load, it's going to shut everybody off or or terminate people. Anybody who's seeing the conditions in their skin, your body is now fighting to get this stuff out of your system. And this is how it's expelling it: through the skin, through your fecal matter, through your urine, through your breathing, through your spit. It's coming out. Other people are not showing the signs does not mean they are not infected. In fact, the infection is going on and ongoing, and it's building up in their bodies. Eventually, it will come to a point where it will reach a certain saturation, and then an activation, and then boom. We cannot control what's coming in the air, but what we can do is come up with ways and means to turn off the technology in your homes. Frequencies are activators of this technology. from what we've researched, from what we've seen, from what we've concluded, based on that, we've come up with ways to, again, turn off the access point. And once you do that, you can at least find shelter in your domain, which is where you live. And you're going to have to stop feeding the pathology or the technology. Okay, so when we're dealing with this stuff, okay, I stated the grains. All the grains have been loaded with a nano silica component from 1960. Silica is a conductor and a raw building block material for this nano to incorporate in its matrix. It loves carbon, sugar, it loves grains, it loves breads, it loves pastas, it loves rice, it loves corn, it loves grapes, it loves fruit in general. Anything that has a high sugar content, the higher the glycemic index of the fruit you're eating, that's the one you need to get rid of. Your bananas, your grapes, your watermelons, your figs, your dates. These are not something you want to consume unless you take some measure to add a component to either draw it out, have them draw out, because they're going to go right for it, and they're going to break it down, and they're going to utilize it in their matrix, in their construction. The stuff loves carbon. When we're talking in terms of what she was pointing out, what she described, she was the first one that said this, okay? Nobody paid attention to her. Everybody should have been paying attention to her. I did. Brian 396 did. We paid attention to her. We took our research and we started using military sites. We started using medical sites. We started using pharmaceutical sites. We started using industrial sites. This nanotechnology that everyone is ranting and raving about today has never been tested. They are promoting this like it's tomorrow's candy. They are promoting this and propagating this to convince every one of you, because they think now they've got you so stupid and so dumb and dumbed down so much with all the overloading you with these chemtrails and the transgenics and epigenetics in the food supply, that you're going to be so stupid that you're just going to accept what they give you. Okay, it's time. It is way past time. Seriously, way past time. When you start taking the bull by the horn about your responsibility. How many of you are not getting any sleep? And you're stressing about the fact you're not getting any sleep. I had a woman call me today about this. Because what's going on is you're being reloaded. And then this material gets activated at night when you're sleeping. And when they fire the frequencies at specific times of the day and night, 11 to midnight, 2 to 4 in the morning, 5 to 8 in the morning, 11 to noon, 3 in the afternoon, 5 to 8 at night, and back to 11 to midnight. In that cycle, you will find at those times you will either hear a high pitch, or you may find yourself either in a mental funk. You're foggy, you can't think, you can't remember nothing, your mind is drifting in some far out, gone way, wherever. You're having conversations with people, and all of a sudden you felt like you've been cut off. You don't know where you are, you're disorientated. Some of you are feeling all kinds of aches and pains. Some of you are feeling all kinds of digestive issues. Some are feeling autoimmune functions going on. This is all being tied to these frequencies and to this technology that's inside of you, to keep you in a state of exhaustion so that you can't think. Keep you in a state of exhaustion so you won't fight. You should be so pissed right off that somebody had the audacity to violate your personage, to violate your personal rights and choices without even asking you for your consent to conduct these experiments and exploits on you. And then by not looking at this correctly, refusing to accept it even, basically you're allowing yourself to be further infected, further compromised, further to be made dysfunctional. Some of you have written to me and says, well, what's the point in fighting? We can't win anyway. Well, you've lost. That attitude should be flushed down the toilet. Period. The reason why you say this is because you're not studying this like you should be. You're not looking at this like you should be. Everything has an Achilles heel. Everything has a means to and an end to decapitate and remove the problem. I always tell you about the story about David and Goliath, how David used the technology that Goliath was going to use on him and took his bloody head off and hung it high so everyone could see that this Nephilim was beaten by a man boy, a child of God, a creation of God, a man boy, not a human, a man boy beat this transhuman abomination with his own tech. That's the attitude you better start having. You know, that's the attitude you better have. Study. I have my website out there with nanotechnology, nanobiology. We even have a nano solution for you on there as well. Study it. She offered a lot of solutions as well. Brian 396 has also offered a lot of solutions as well. You might want to pay attention to him. Okay, you might want to pay attention to what I'm saying, and you might want to pay attention to some of the people that we've helped as well. Because like I said, if you don't study this, if you're not going to take the time to take care of yourself, then this thing is going to consume you. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. None. You cannot, and I repeat this, you cannot win the fight against an adversary if you don't know what they're packing. And in this case, you need to understand what this is. Excuse me. She pointed this out repeatedly. I pointed it out repeatedly. This is a synthetic biology. This is not, and I repeat, this is not a disease. This can cause conditions based on how it is assembling in your body and attacking your genetic code. Understand, whoever did this, and this is the other dumb question people ask. Aren't these people going to get affected as well? Who cares? Who really gives a flying flamingo about what these people are going to be affected with? The fact is, you are being affected, you are being assaulted, you are being violated. That's what you should be paying attention to, not these ridiculous questions that you can never get an answer to unless you find these people who are doing it to you, and then you can say, oh, can you ask me how you are avoiding this while you're poisoning me? That's how silly that sounds to me. You need to understand the importance right now is you and what's going on and how you can undo the damage that's been done, how you can correct what's going on, how you can mount an offensive to what is happening. That's the important question. That's the questions you should be asking. Those are the answers you should be looking for, not some BS stuff that, you know, oh, you just going to have. Who cares? Monkey see, monkey do does not apply here. Don't look at that monkey and try to figure out what they're doing, because that monkey is what's causing you to be pummeled. Somebody made a comment to me this week about I shouldn't be referring to the elites as the elite. And they're actually correct. They were actually very correct in this. I should be referring to these people as the demented. Okay? They have a dementia, a form of dementia, demented mentality to violate us the way they have, to experiment on us the way they have. These are a demented lot. One day their number will be up. One day there will be retribution here. And it's not going to come from within the political system. I assure you, this is going to come en masse by the people who they've afflicted. There will be a rebellion of a magnitude that will again blow everybody's perspective on what a revolution is. This has been basically a sin, not only to God, but also to mankind. What has been done. This is a direct sin, if you want to put it that way, to everybody, irrespective of beliefs. I don't care if you're Islamic, I don't care if you're Judaic, I don't care if you're Christian, I don't care if you're Hindu, I don't care if you're Buddhist, I don't care if you believe in the native creator concepts, I don't care what it is. This has been a direct sin on everybody, that they would create this kind of violation, and on top of that, they did it in the dark. They did it in secret. And this is the awakening that should be going on right now, that you are tired of things being done in the dark. The violation has gone on the planet. The planet is being raped, literally. The resources of this planet are being consumed at an exponential rate, but it's not being consumed by the consumer. It's being consumed by the violators and the perpetrators that are using the earth as a means, as a weapon against the creation on it. That's where this is going on. This is what's happening. The nanotechnology, the nanobiology has been released not only in the atmosphere as ultrafine particles and through chemtrails and through industrial waste and through experimentation and exploitation by the military industrial complex, but it's also been released on the land, in the water. We're seeing anomalies going on in the ocean that we've never seen before. All of a sudden, we have now a megalodon shark coming back from extinction. Why is that happening? All of a sudden, we're seeing all kinds of megalithic animals in the oceans rising that were never there before. Why is that happening? We're seeing also anomalies on the land. Animals that we've never seen before. Insects we've never seen before. Rising, coming forth. Why is that happening? Could maybe some genetic, transgenetic, epigenetic experimentation be going on? What's going up in that satellite above us? What experiments are they doing on a genetic level up there? See, these are questions that you should be aware to. Instead of watching the boob tube, instead of watching I Love Lucy or Walt Disney or Bugs Bunny or whatever it is you're watching on television, maybe it's time you picked up a book. All right, come on back. I hear the music, and we'll further this discussion. See you in a bit. Hey, welcome back. We took a bit of a break. Welcome back to the Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony ntalleresco, and you're listening to us live in the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. First half, we were talking about Gwen Scott. I personally don't think she got enough credit for what she did and how she did it. I always, like I said, I had our conversations with her, and I remember our conversations, and she was a very pleasant woman to talk to. We would banter a little bit, tease a little bit, but she had a very serious side to her as well. I knew she was under a lot of stress. I wasn't surprised that she was being heavily monitored. But all in all, I have to say, she didn't get the credit that she deserved, and there's been so much bullsh on this topic. You know, more gallons being this, more gallons being that. We have one guy was so bloody goofy. I couldn't believe this guy. The brain of a pea. I got to a point where I just realized that there was no educating a buffoon, so I never bothered with the guy anymore. But it's incredible, the incredibility and the incredible stupidity that some people have developed over maligning her research. And you know this was all done on purpose because she was dead on this topic. So I put it in there in the chat room. It's called Dr. Gwen Scott. It was on Revolution Radio, July 2011, on More Gallons. And she'll tell you and more gallons is what I've been telling you. She said it first. Like I said, I'd never heard. I heard this a long time ago, but it was after the fact. Like I said, I'd never heard her research or looked at a lot of her stuff, and a lot of stuff we came up on our own. Just what we discovered with the military aspect of it, the medical aspect of it, the pharmaceutical aspect of it, the industrial aspect of it. And when you look at the research on the nano and the nanobiology and the synthetic biology, never has been tested. None of it was ever tested. It was released in the market. You are probably wearing underwear made with nanotechnology, nano silver in the underwear, which will cause sterilization of the male population and can cause cancer to women. Probably don't even know it's in your underwear. Okay, you are wearing clothing that may have it embedded in it. You may be eating foods, and you are eating foods that has this nano in it. No question in my mind. They're spraying nano silver in the crops today, which is causing high levels of genetic damage to whatever it gets exposed to. They're saying that the insects sooner or later are going to develop a resistance to this, and they're going to come back damn near invincible. So when we're looking at some of the wonderful science, you want to call it science, you want to look at the wonderful, or should I say pseudoscience, the real science would solve an issue without creating more problems. Pseudoscience throws whatever it wants to at it and let the cards fall where they will. That's the difference. Anyway, I wanted to present this today because I wanted people again to go back maybe and look at what she said. And then go back in some of these shows and listen to what I'm saying. And go back and listen to what Brian 396 is saying. Because I think if you haven't woke up, this may help stimulate you out of the slumber or the nightmare you're in. And this will also give you a better idea of what's going on. It's a common cold is no longer a common cold. A common infection is no longer a common infection, especially when they're giving you antibiotics for infections that don't want to seem to heal. Autoimmune disorders are happening at a phenomenal rate, exponentially across the planet, and this has nothing to do because, oh, you got this, high-level pathology, this Lyme bullshit they're propagating. What a lot of horse hockey that is. Okay. Nobody is looking at the real research that this woman had conducted, and that's where everybody should start paying attention. I did. Brian 396 did. Maybe you should too. Because like I said, her direction is the one to start looking at. That's the way you need to start looking at this. Not with some theory, not with some ideology, not with some thinking because you're a herbalist or you've been practicing alternative healing for 99 years, you think you know more than me or her or Brian. I got news for you. You will get your backside handed to you in a pounded way. When you've exhausted all the things that you think you know about this particular concept, then and only then are you going to find that how futile a lot of the remedies are going to be today. And I mean futile. Your whole paradigm is going to be based on a whole new dynamic in regard to treating and healing people from their health issues. You're going to have to start thinking in terms of artificial life, synthetic biology, nanobiology, or genetic and transgenics. If you're not thinking in those terms, you are not going to win. And the people you're helping are going to lose more. That you can take any way you like. I do not care. You will find out one way or another. Again, the easy route would be to start where she started, go from there. And if she's telling you things that you feel might be on the fringe, if you will, that's because what you're dealing with is the fringe. Okay, that's the end of it, and that's the way it is. That's how it is, and until you see it that way, you're not going to have, nobody's going to have any success. If you keep following these knuckleheads that keep promoting Lyme and fungi and all kinds of baloney, and people are fickle. If the wind blows left, if the wind blows right, that's how they go. Stay the course. Stay the course. Let the research lead you. Don't try to force the research. You'll be surprised what you'll discover. I made a comment to somebody earlier today. If God is not the center of your equation, you have no equation. That better be the center point on everything you're doing in regard to this. Everything. Because that's where you're going to find the real answers. It all boils down to creation and creativity. And since God is the engineer of creation, you might want to pay attention to him and the way he did things. That's what I do. That's what I try to do. I don't always see it, but that's what I try to do. If you don't go that route, you ain't going nowhere. End of story. All right. I hammered this one hard enough. Hopefully you guys will, again, credit Gwen Scott. She deserved it. I think it's important that you pick up the ball where she left off. That's what I did. That's what Brian396 did. So if you need more information on help with this nano abomination or this nano infection, or what she called a pseudo life form, or I call it synthetic life form, give us a shout. Contact Brian396. He's all over Facebook. You can contact me through the usual channels, through my email, or through my email primarily. Or you can go on my site, look at the YouTube recipe for the YouTube link. In there, you will see the nano solution. You will see the nano bucket. You might want to investigate those. They'll go a long way to helping you come to get this unglued. Alrighty. Something that came up to my website today. Now, again, you may want to look this up yourself. It's called New Zealand to conduct aerial spraying of glyphosate, blatantly ignoring environmental impact. Who does this? Who does this? Do you think maybe the people of Kiwi down there are in fact being maybe targeted? The two islands, Wellington and Auckland there? Do you think possibly there might be some kind of, problem? A direct assault on the citizenry of New Zealand? Just makes me go, who does this? Recently, a wave of attention was brought to the fact that in areas of New Zealand, the notorious carcinogenic herbicide glyphosate and similar chemicals are going to be aerially sprayed, and then animals are going to be made to graze directly on the poison. So much for buying sheep from New Zealand. So much for buying milk from New Zealand. You don't have to anymore. It's not going to be any different than the milk you're buying in your own respective state, province, territory, country, or wherever you may be living. Why import the milk with the glyphosate when you can buy it directly in your grocery store? The reason why people were buying food from New Zealand, the selling feature about that was the fact that their foods were better, they were cleaner. Not necessarily any more organic, but they were cleaner. They were spraying Brodifolcum 1080 for a long time. They're probably spraying also 2-4-D. It's another chemical that's what they've been spraying here in the United States and Canada since 1949. That's mixed with the glyphosates on a lot of occasions, and it causes genetic damage, causes birth defects. I wonder what's going to happen to the people of New Zealand now. Anyway, let me see if I can see what they got in there again. The chemicals they're going to have in there are glyphosates, trichlorium, which is I think that 2D-4 or 2-4D, organosilicone, nanosilica. Wow. And they know nanosilica causes DNA damage to not only the livestock, but to the people who eat the food. Isn't that interesting? Interesting. There's a picture on the research here. They show sheep grazing on a field after it was sprayed with they're going to aerosol. What a way to kill your competition. What a way to kill your competition. Can you imagine this? Now think about this for 1 minute. This is where you got to start really, getting all. This is where you got to start thinking. Percy Schmeiser in Canada was railroaded with a bunch of BS when a truck drove by with a tarp that was open, and genetically modified corn or genetically engineered corn wound up on this property, and Monsanto had a crew there cleaning up or investigating Percy Schmeiser with this corn, and stated that because the corn was on his property, that he owed them restitution. Now, what kind of horse hockey is that? And then the Canadian government went along with Monsanto. Where were the farmers? They should have band together, told Monsanto, take a long walk off a short dock and take your glyphosate and the rest of your horse hockey and get it out of here. Instead, Percy Schmeiser had to campaign and fight a battle, I think, for like 12 years. Now imagine this. We can now fly over your farm, and we can spray crap for the other farmer, and now your farm is going to get that glyphosate crap on your land, and now Monsanto can come knocking on your door and say, hey, you got our technology on your property. You owe us restitution. So, my word of advice to those people, those farmers in New Zealand, is if this happens down there, don't follow the Canadian catastrophe. Don't follow this cluster screw that we had going on here. You farmers better band together, because one by one they're going to take you apart and they're going to steal your land. That's what this is all about. It's not the fact that they're poisoning the land, and the ecosystem down in New Zealand and Australia is very temperamental to begin with. But this is an outrage that this is going to be done, and again, without the consent, without the consent, Okay, one of the places that they're hitting was Para Hills were being doused with the poison. There was they had a guy there from England, a landscaping business in England. He says knew that glyphosate should not be used to kill native bush or near water, but we know it shouldn't be used at all. The glyphosate contaminates water supplies and all kinds of things. Basically, every single wine you could consume in California, for instance, is going to be contaminated with glyphosate. This is one of the reasons why I don't buy California wine. In fact, I quit buying alcohol altogether and just make my own. Well, along those lines. For that reason, you cannot trust. You can go buy an Airstill online for about $250, and you can start making your own stuff. And I'd probably encourage you to do that, because today, from what I've seen with the alcohol, even the non-alcoholic beverages, from what I've seen, they are loaded. They're loaded with nano, and they're loaded with chemicals. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make here is this. New Zealand no longer is going to have a safe food supply. And I think seriously they should, people should wake up to this, and again, quit buying their food. That will force the government of New Zealand to take a different stand, a different approach. Some of the farmers may get hurt by this initially, but in the long run, it's going to benefit those people in New Zealand from eating this crap. We've been eating it here. We had nothing but health issues from day one, from cancers, autoimmune disorders, genetic disorders, DNA disorders, you name it, sexual dysfunctionality, health issues, chemical, pesticide health issues, and endocrine disrupting issues. The list goes on and on and on. And for those of you down in the land down under with all the thunder, Australia, Oz, go on my website, augmentedforce.com. Look at the glyphosate link that's on that page. It was done by researchers in MIT. I can't think of her name right off the bat. But that's her research. Okay? And you can see clearly this is not a chemical you want to be exposed to on any level. On any level. Your cancer rates are going to jump up exponentially by a factor of 4. That seems to be the current theme that I hear down in the Caribbean islands. Once they start incorporating this stuff, all of a sudden cancer rates jumped up by a factor of 4. Lovely, eh? Lovely. And if they're adding 2,4D with it, it's a double hit. It's designed to hit the genetic code of whoever consumes this stuff. So you may want to look at an alternative to what you currently have as an alternative. Because what you may be having may be contaminated. So again, this is something to look at. All right, and the third thing I want to hit tonight, this is closer to home. This is, I believe, out in Chatham. This is not too far from me, about 45 minutes away. The water table. For those of you who live in Ontario, southwestern Ontario, and we've got all these wind turbines going. What happened in the Chatham area, Kent County, was that when they were burrowing down into the ground to mount the windmills, this black shale got into the water table, into the well. RTI lab testing reveals a 14,000 times increase in kettle point black shade particles, with the majority of the microparticles under 1 micron in size. Under 1 micron is nano. The baseline sample for RTI shows particles of the shale go from 47 particles per milliliter of water to 681,939 counts per milliliter. Hey, talk about clean drinking water. This is Kent County. This is not too far from me here. At least a 45-minute drive. Okay. Samsung Construction Activities told the developers or the government that there'd be no problem with the water table being contaminated. The Ontario Ministry of Environment and Climate Change based their approval of this project on flawed computer model paid for by the developer. The fox was watching the hen house. Nothing wrong. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to drill a hole, put a thing in there, hold a windmill. So again, and then there was another, the government's test. The government's test, this is the government trying to cover its backside, has so far refused to acknowledge that there is a connection between the start of the pile driving and the sudden pollution of people's well water. Somebody is being creative with the facts. Somebody is being creative. Now, I'm not sure what well they're getting their water from, but if you are in the Kent County area, you may want to investigate your water table, water supply. You may have to go buy some distilled water from the grocery store. Don't buy that mineral water crap, that spring water. That's just tap water that's been filtered, and it won't filter these particles. You get distilled water. Okay, distilled water. That's clean water. Add a little table salt. There's your minerals. Get distilled water. If this happens to anybody in any area, again, distilled water. Don't drink the tap water. Don't drink spring water. All right, I'm always talking about the support of the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. Give them your support. Tell them you're listening. Tell them you care. Share. Give them what you can. Tell them, hey, what can we do for you? Ask not what your activists can do for you, but ask what you can do for your activists. You got Bye Bye Blue Sky. You got Gag Canada. Myself. We're going to have a green show again up in April. I'm going to mention it every week. I'll give you more and more details. Again, in April, we're going to have a green show again. Bye Bye Blue Sky, myself, and others are going to be there to demonstrate on the effects of chemtrails, on the effects of the nano, a whole bunch of things. Anyway, the Green Show is going to be April 6th to the 8th. It's going to be the Green Living Show in Toronto. So if you're interested, whether you're from Canada or not, whether you're from Europe or not, if you're in the neighborhood, come on by and say hello. Then you got me down here at 519-977-5351. Again, or independz at yahoo.com. Go to my website. There's a catalog link there. Check out the catalog link. There we've got we've got DVDs on books or books on DVDs. We've got a flash drive, which is a library of data. We've got the bucket. We've got the triangle. We've got the repulsors. We've got the walking grounds. We've got old-fashioned remedies. Again, feel free to check it out. I also do consultations as well. So check out the site. Check out see what you need. And again, the number is 519-977-5351, or again, independz at yahoo.com. I'm also going to point out, go to Bye Bye Blue Sky. Check out her site. Look at the health link. Check out the nano more gallons link. If you still think after watching this that this is just a freak accident, these samples that you're seeing on that site are from people from all over the planet. And in there you'll also see how the food is also contaminated. You need to be aware and awake, and you need to know how to neutralize. That is going to be the biggest thing that I can tell you. One of the things that Gwen Scott pointed out was they're always changing what they're spraying in the atmosphere, and this is true. The weather anomalies are going on in your respective regions. The health issues are coming on after they do some chemtrailing. This was validated. She stated that it's true, and we're seeing that today. So again, check out what she said in the areas I've told you to go check out. When we're looking at the her information. So where the heck did I put it here? I lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, Dr. Gwen Scott, Revolution Radio, July 2011, more gallons. And she's going to tell you to straight up and up about this. Brian 396 has told you to straight up and up about this. So have I. Okay, this is not a disease. This is not a pathology. This works on a completely different premise, and you have to start thinking in a different perspective in regarding to treating this condition. This problem is not going to go away. And another thing too, this is not going to go away anytime soon. The level of exposure of just about all of you has been going on since, for the most part of you, since the day a lot of you were born. You've been saturating this in your bodies unbeknownst to anybody. There's no one to blame as far as family members go. This has nobody to blame as far as we're concerned. This is the blame should be put on the ones that have initiated it, the ones that have propagated this, the ones who have backed it up. That's where the blame goes. All right, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. We'll see you next week, same bad time, same bad channel. Till then, save the planet, cooperate, come up with great ideas. See ya.